2. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to begin with a medley of Pesach songs, much like last week. Took one out. We begin with the very traditional order of the Seder. Kadesh urchatz, karpas yachatz, magid rochza, motzi matzah, maror korech, shulchan orech, tzafun barech, Hallel nirtzah. Halachma, halachma anya di achalu, achalu avatana, behara, behara, de Mitzrayim, behara, behara, de Mitzrayim, ma nishtana halayla hazeh, mikol halelot, mikol halelot, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים חמץ ומצה, חמץ ומצה. הלילה הזה כולו מצה, הלילה הזה כולו מצה. When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go, oppressed so hard they could not stand. Oh, let my people go. Your turn. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. Bechol dor vador, bechol dor vador, chayav adam lirot, lirot et atzmo כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים. לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים. לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים. לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים. לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים. לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים. Tell the story to your children. Slaves in Egypt were we, but God gave strength to Moshe Rabbeinu, and now our people are free. And now our people are free. Avadim hayinu, hayinu, lefaro b'Mitzrayim, b'Mitzrayim. Avadim hayinu, ata, ata, b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu, ata, ata, b'nei chorin, b'nei chorin. Ata, ata, b'nei chorin, b'nei
Another Seder before Seder. Thank you. We went through most of the Seder songs. Shabbat Shalom, almost Chag Pesach Sameach. Happy Passover, minus 3 days, something like that. Welcome to everyone who is here. Welcome to those watching from home. Thank yous to our president, Matthew Meyer. Tonight, our president's assistant is Pharaoh. Thank you to those who bring us music each week that enhances our service, Andy Sussman and Ruth Pavlo. Thank you to Xavier Leff, who is our tech guru. Welcome to my daughter, Rosa Fink, flew in today from New York City. Let's take a minute to just introduce yourself to somebody who maybe you don't know, maybe a face you haven't seen for a while. Let's do that for a minute before we do candles. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to say hello and Shabbat Shalom. I want to say welcome to Dean, who's never been at our temple before and is here for the first time. So make sure you say hello to him at some point. We have Oneg Shabbat after the service. So because it's Third Friday, not only did we all get to enjoy some wine and cheese before the service, but also everyone comes up to light Shabbat candles. So come on forward. Our blessing will be said and led by Marian Kostrinsky. So you're going to come up to the top here, and everyone else come on forward to light a candle. Yeah, Matthew, if you're going to be bar mitzvah, you have to learn how to light a match. I went to my nephew's Eagle Scout ceremony, and there were all these boys that were becoming Eagle Scouts, and none of them could light a match. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. How are you Eagle Scouts and you don't know how to light matches? I guess they can only rub sticks together. Okay, so Marion, are you ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kadashanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chad l'knei shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, God, source of all life, who brings us holiness through mitzvot, and who has given us the mitzvah of lighting the Shabbat candles.
Hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. And let us say
Thank you. And we will continue with Lechadodi, which also welcomes the Shabbat day in the form of a song that compares the Shabbat day to a beautiful Shabbat bride coming into our midst. Lechadodi is on page 138.
Lechadodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולי תהילה. לחדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונרחא, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לחדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת פרה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך המוני העם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
Remain standing as we continue with Baruch Hu, page 146. And as we move into Passover, one of the major lessons of Passover is the humanity of all, just as we wish we had been treated as full human beings with dignity when we were in Egypt. So we take that lesson and hope we can live in a world where we work toward every human being being treated as a full human being. That's also the message of Shema, in which we sing, Israel, remember, one God unites all people, is part of all living things. Shema on page 152. You may be seated. What a beautiful example of brotherhood over in our side section. You Shall Love the Lord Your God by Debbie Friedman. It is on your song sheet.
And you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be upon your heart, shall be upon your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up. Shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be a symbol between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorpost of your house and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Micha Mocha, the song of the season. The Israelites getting out after all the plagues of slavery in Egypt. But I don't want to give you any spoilers because Monday night you're going to do the whole story. But we always do the melody of the season for Micha Mocha. So I'll get on my special ears. And we will join together. And if you can't see, I see some people squinting. They are my matzah mouse ears. I saw that expression, Edith. Yeah, they are my matzah mouse ears. And in case you didn't notice, I'm completely decked out in matzah, so just wanted to point that out. But the song of the season, Micha Mocha. Let's see if I can. Okay, I think I can do it. We did it last week. Micha mocha ba'elim, ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nehedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot osefele, Nora tehilot osefele, Nora tehilot osefele, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. And let's see if anyone's paying attention over there. Oh, you looked up. Oh, that was the worst throw ever. That was so off. I was going to catch them by surprise, but you were actually paying attention. All right, now you can throw it back because I can just see this being a disaster. I will, actually, you know what? Oh, right, I'll throw it back. Matzah ball, by the way. Matches my ensemble. And where are we? Okay, so there was a suggestion from our president earlier this week, which I think is an excellent one, which is that we have Hashkivenu, we have our prayer for safety at night. This has been a tough week, especially for Israel. Some nights of watching and waiting, and we are grateful that this week was as safe as it really could have been for all those who live in our land. But it is always good to think of safety, security, keep it in our prayers, hope that it becomes a reality. So our prayer for safety at night, Hashkivenu, is it on the song sheet?
Song sheet.
It is on the song sheet.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu le'shalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu le'shalom.
And I think we're going to go right to the tefillah. So I would like to invite up Matthew Madsen and Elijah Aronson to lead us in the tefillah section. Elijah and Matthew are very quickly getting close to being officially bar mitzvah, b'nai mitzvah. In fact, Matthew, how many weeks do you have left? 2 weeks left. So, you can just use your hands, I'm sorry. Okay. You may rise, and the tefillah section begins on page 139. 162, I believe. Nope, I was wrong. 164.
Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Velohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Velohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Yom Gomes Lazadim Tovim Ve'konei Hakol V'zocher chastei avot v'imachot umevi geulat livnei v'nehem leman shemo be'ahava melech ozer umoshia umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Leoshia Mashiv HaRuach Morid HaGashem Mechakel Ha'im Bechesed Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umakaye Umato Lishene Afar Michamo Chabal Givurot Umidol Leolach Melech Haimi Umachaye Umatmia Yeshua V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Makel hakol. I'll do this part. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh ukdoshim bechol yom yahallelu chasela Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
It was beautiful. Thank you so much. And we continue with a moment of silent reflection, either with the words of our prayer book or the words of our hearts. And we continue either standing or sitting.
Shalom Bimroma Ose Shalom Bimroma Uyase 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 Shalom Uyase 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 Shalom Uyase 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 Shalom Aleinu עושה שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום במרומיו. הוא יעשה, הוא יעשה, הוא יעשה שלום. הוא יעשה, הוא יעשה, הוא יעשה שלום. הוא יעשה, הוא יעשה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Aleinu, Ose Shalom.
We send our prayers to those who are in need of healing, physical healing, emotional healing. On this Shabbat, we especially send our prayers to members and loved ones of our community: Paul Aronson, David Appel, Shari Estalos, Judy Averbach, Ethan Campbell, Sandra Chesler, Brian Klahesi, Randy Klahesi, Jay Crystal, Terry Darmody, Rosa Bat Shmuel Uvat Sheba, Sandy Friedland, Shar Friedman, Tracy Janetta, Julian Kaner, Marion Kostrinsky, Marty Kiefer, Shelley Lehner, Michael Levin, Mark Merberg, Claude Rabinowitz, Arnold Reamer, Rosalie Saltiel, Louise Samuels, Dolores Champaner, Bobby Sherman Geishan, Herman Spring, Robin Stein, Carla Teisch, Katie Weinstock, Lori Weinstock. Are there others we especially wish to think of on this Shabbat? We join in our prayer for healing, Misha Beirach, and it's on your song sheet.
Misha Beirach, Avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov, Sarah, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. יברך וירפא את החולים.
Handouts are coming around. Matthew has, let's see, pass. There we go. And I think I gave 3. You can pass back there. Matthew's coming around. There's. Nope. Okay. And then Elijah, we have in this room. Great. Raise your hand if you don't have one. Matthew is ready to hand you a handout. Jerry, you wouldn't take it from me. You will only take it from Matthew, huh? Okay. I saw that. So you can see we have some things up here that, you know, you might want to have out at a Seder, because Seder is not supposed. How many of you have memories of Seder from years ago where, don't raise your hand yet, I'm not done. Memories of Seder from years ago where you remember sitting and hearing someone just like droning on in Hebrew for a long time, and you had no idea what was happening, and you didn't really have a role, you just had to listen to all this Hebrew droning? Raise your hand. Okay, so a few of you. I'm sorry that happened to you, because Seder is an interactive experience. It was always intended from the very, very, very beginning of Seders. So, I mean, Passover's been observed as long as there's been, like, Israelite religion. Seder, probably at least 2,000 years. And it was always intended to be something that was interactive and that was especially engaging for children, because it was supposed to be an educational experience. So, really how we learn, I don't care if you're 6 or you're 76, how we learn is by interacting, by discussing, by considering questions, by asking questions. It's a night of questions. Why do you think we have 4 questions written in there? Because when they first started and they said, okay, people, let's ask questions about the story. And kids, kids come up with some questions. What questions do you have about the story? What do you think the kids did 2,000 years ago? That is correct. They did nothing. They just sat there and they went, you think they were any different 2,000 years ago? No, not one bit. So we had to put questions in the book, but really, it's supposed to be people discuss. So if you are hosting a Seder, I think there's so many approaches. There's an infinite number of ways to lead a Seder, but one way you could do it is pick a few sections of the Haggadah and just do deep dives of those few sections at your table, through discussion and conversation, through fun activities. Like, for example, so I'll give away, so I'm planning this year, there's 2 hand washings. I don't know if you remember that. There's a hand washing early in the Seder and one later. The first one has no blessing, and it's like, well, why do we even do this? And one response is, well, you know what? It's a night where things are just supposed to be different and surprising. It's supposed to make people go, what the heck are we doing? That's what it's supposed to do. So I bought off of Amazon a what looks like a potato chip Pringles can, but when you open it, it's a snake popping out, because you know what? Maybe we don't want to do a hand washing to surprise people. Maybe we want a snake coming out of a can to surprise people. Again, just be creative. It accomplishes the same goal. I have here more than we are going to have time to talk about, but these are yours to take home if you would like. I thought I'd pick one section of the Seder and maybe do a little bit of a deep dive and have some, I should get the microphone. And I picked the 4 children because it tends to be the section that people dislike the most. And why do people usually dislike the 4? So some Haggadahs say the 4 sons, some say the 4 children. What do people tend, I mean, a lot of people in this congregation are former educators, and so I know there'll be, you will absolutely have an issue. What's the thing that people dislike most about the 4 children, the story, that part of the Haggadah? What? Okay, 1, each child has a label put on them. Okay, very not a good thing. One of the kids maybe has a label, I mean, it's all bad, but which label do people usually react to? Yeah, the wicked child. What does the wicked child say? Okay, that is not at all PC in this century or probably in a bunch of centuries going back. So I thought, let's look at that. Is there anything redeemable in that section? If you are the host of a Seder, you get to pick what parts you want to do. You can't do the whole thing. You got to pick a few parts. And this is the part that often I would think would go first for that reason. But let's just look at it. Is there anything redeemable in this section at all, or is it just bad? And maybe by the end, you'll have an opinion one way or the other. Okay, so I want to just look at what it is. So number 1 is, why do we have this section? Okay, the simple answer is because in the Torah, there's a few different places that it says, when your child asks what we're doing on this Passover night, you should respond this way. But guess what? Each place, it says a little something different. So our early rabbis, who were about 2,000 years ago, looked at that and said, well, why would the Torah have, well, your child asks, then say this, or your child asks, and then you say this different thing? That doesn't make any sense. It must mean you say something different for different kinds of children. So that's what the rabbis came up with, is like, well, that must be why the Torah says this. Okay, so let's look at, on page 1, we have something in Exodus and something in Deuteronomy. The first one says, when in time to come your son, and this is obviously, sometimes this is just going to be male language, your son asks you saying, what is this? Okay, here's another place in Deuteronomy. When in time to come your children ask you, they will ask, what are the decrees, laws, and rules that Adonai our God has instructed you? I don't know what kid is going to ask that, but I don't know. Some kids have asked that. All right, so the early rabbis look at this. They say, well, these are obviously 2 kinds of children, which it obviously is. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think that first child is asking? That first child is asking, what is this? What do you think they're asking about? I mean, it isn't like there's one right answer. Like, what do you think they're asking about?
What is this, meaning the table, or what? Why are we sitting around this table doing this?
So this could refer to all this stuff on the table that is meant to be really, really different from a regular dinner table. Any other idea about maybe what it could be asking? Again, there's no right answer. What could that kid be asking? What is this? Yeah, okay, they could ask it in Yiddish, which probably wasn't done in Torah time, but maybe, we don't know. I wasn't there. Any other idea of? Okay, so just asking what's on the table. What is this? What are these different foods that are sitting here?
Why are we here?
Why are we here? So what is this in terms of what is this about? Okay, so these are all really good options of what it might mean. Okay, let's look at the Deuteronomy. What does it seem like that's asking? What are the decrees, laws, and rules that Adonai that God has instructed you? A pre-law student. Yeah, Belle?
Well, since I've been to one of your Saturday morning Tanakhs, in the morning,
Here, want to take that?
I was just going to say, since I actually went, I've heard the rabbi speak Saturday morning, and now I know Deuteronomy is considered written much later.
Yes.
My guess, it's what the rabbis wanted the children to ask, not the children asking. So this is they want to lead them down a path so they can say what it is.
That is, so Deuteronomy isn't as late as the rabbis. It is later than the Torah, but what you're leading to is, which of these two do you think the rabbis would say is the wise child? And you just answered that, so I'm going to give you the mic back.
The latter,
Okay,
yeah.
because the rabbis want kids to ask things that the rabbis are concerned with. What are the rules? What's the halacha? So they're going to say that's the wise child. What do you think is, which would you, if you were going to say one of these is the wise child, I don't know why I'm holding this, which would you say is more of the wise child, and why, of those two questions? Would you say either of them? Okay, so why would you say both?
Because they were interested in what was going on, and one was just more educated and used bigger words.
They did. The second one did use bigger words, but both of them were engaged. They were interested. They noticed something different was going on. What's happening here? Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you have to, yeah, they're both wise in different ways. I'm gonna move on to the wicked child. So the rabbis, again, the rabbis are later than the Bible. The rabbis identify the third son as wicked based on two things. So one, the line in Exodus doesn't say asking, it says the child states. Because in Exodus, it says in Exodus 12, and when your children say to you, what do you mean by this right? The rabbis see this child as saying, I'm telling you. I'm not asking you anything, I'm telling you. And two, whoops. Okay. And two, because the child says, what does this mean to you? How are they interpreting that child? What do you think, Rosa, when it says to you?
That they're not including themselves.
Yes, that they're not including themselves. So the early so what, does anyone remember from the Haggadah what you answer that child that's termed wicked? So the child is stating, and the child is, yes, Matthew.
I recall correctly, if you were part of the Jews, God would not have included
Yeah, you would have
left
just,
behind.
your bleached bones would have been just hanging out there in the desert, and you wouldn't have joined us. So maybe that doesn't go with the best practices of child psychology that we now know. That might not be the best approach. Well, I guess you have a mic, but anyway.
I got a mic.
Okay.
So real quick, maybe the word wicked is a little bit too extreme, and maybe a word like obstinate or challenging as opposed to wicked.
Okay. Right, if we're going to have labels at all, which is problematic. Just even having labels is problematic. Okay, so what the rabbis say is you should answer them obviously with a sarcastic tone of voice, obviously, saying, it's because of this the Lord did for me when I went out of Egypt. So if you're going to disengage yourself and be so snotty about it, then yeah, you would have been just left there and we would have taken off and you would have been on the other side of the Red Sea by yourself. So what is Okay, and then one more, the child with no question. There is a line in Exodus that says, you should explain to your son on that day, saying, it is because of what God did for me when I left Egypt. So because there's no question, this is considered the child that doesn't know how to ask. So this is where this all comes from. I think something that is really interesting to me is, you may not know this, but there's the main Talmud collection of what the rabbis had to say and teach is the Babylonian Talmud, but it's not the only Talmud. There's also a Jerusalem Talmud. It's not, doesn't go as long. It's not considered as authoritative, but it does exist. And guess what happens in the Jerusalem Talmud? They switch sons. So actually, the simple child in the Jerusalem Talmud is the one who says, what are all the rights and the laws and everything else? And the wise child is the one who says, what is this? And how I see it is big picture versus details. And, you know, that is very, very Reform Judaism versus Orthodox Judaism. That in Reform Judaism, we are very concerned with the big picture and the values and not having to do everything exactly literally, but looking what's the message here and how can we get across this message. Whereas, you know, so to me, I mean, I'm not going to label wise or simple, but, you know, the wise child to me is the one who wants to know the big picture. What is it all about? What's the meaning? Okay, so just a few things that, how could you bring this to your Seder table, to your own Seder table? One way you can look at it, and this is the bottom of page 2, that there's 4 kinds of Jews. One who has wisdom, one who has maybe a simple knowledge or understanding of our tradition, maybe one who approaches the tradition with hostility or mockery, and one who doesn't even know enough to know what to ask. So if you could respond to any of these people with a line or two about what the Seder is, what might you say? What might you say to someone who's Jewish who doesn't even know what to ask? They weren't raised Jewish. Like, what's a quick way you would say, this is why we have Seder? This is what it's about. Belle, what do you think?
I would say it's mainly about the time of the pharaohs and slavery and how we wanted to be free, our own people, how God let us be free, how we had to work for it with the plagues, and, you know, about making sure not to enslave other people and ourselves.
Okay, so that the bottom line, we remember when we were slaves, so we remember what it, I mean, that's the thing it says in the Torah more than any other line, is remember you were slaves in Egypt, you know what it felt like, you have empathy for others, you know what that experience is. Okay, so that's maybe a line you might tell somebody like that.
Well, in order to make it quick, you could explain what everything on the Seder plate is and what it stands for, because each one of those things is an important thing that happened at that time.
Okay, so you might want to explain individual symbols to that person who wants to know, what are we doing at Seder? Any other ideas of what you might want to say? One more thing about what you might want to say to somebody who has no understanding, quickly telling them, this is what this is about.
Hello?
Wait, is the hand,
Hello?
oh,
Yes.
there we go.
I would provoke. I would say something like, imagine this is our last Seder and we are not having any Seder anymore in our lives. They would think about it. They would think about, this is unimaginable. Like, we have to have it. And then I would ask why. And they will answer. I think so.
So someone, okay, that maybe is for the person who has maybe a hostile, I mean, that doesn't work for someone who has no understanding of what a Seder even is, but you're saying maybe someone who's kind of hostile to it, maybe that would...
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But I think that the family needs to feel the Judaism. And making the Seder is to feel the Judaism. That's
So
it.
don't forget about the emotional component of this. So I want to see if there's one more thing. So I have some questions here. I would say, if you are going to have a Seder, these are some questions you might want to throw out. Look, each of us has approached something either in Judaism or in the world with each of these 4 attitudes. It isn't like everybody's divided into 4 exact people. All 4 of these are part of all of us about different things. There are some times where we approach the world with hostility or mockery, or certain parts of the world. There are certain times when we approach certain things really not having any idea what's going on. There are times we approach something and, we know a little bit about it, but that's about it. And we could talk about, did I always approach with the right attitude? That maybe we can look back and say, there was that time where I was really, really hostile and making fun of something or somebody, and now I realize maybe that wasn't the best attitude. Maybe I should have come with something else. You could have that kind of discussion. I have number 3. Which of these 4 people irritates you the most, and why? So that's a question you could talk about. Clearly, many Jews at their Seder tables will be talking about Israel. And there are families and people who come together that have very different ideas about and opinions about what is happening in Israel, about, Israel in general, about the Netanyahu government, about the Gazans, about, the Gazans and Hamas. I mean, there's going to be this is an interesting discussion that goes with a lot of the Seder, but it's interesting to look. I have the 4 children within our own selves. What is the wisdom that I have? What seems so simple to me? I can't imagine anyone else not believing this. What's so complex? I don't even know. And what does it mean to be wise? Sometimes what it means to be wise in a situation is admitting, I don't really know. I have certain opinions, but I can't be sure of them. Sometimes that's the most wise thing you can do. And I'll just end with this quote from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, because I really like this. The 4 children are a vignette of the Jewish people. One asks because he wants to hear the answer. A second asks because he does not want to hear the answer. A third asks because he doesn't understand. The 4th does not ask because he doesn't understand that he doesn't understand. So just some thoughts and ideas when you talk about things at the Seder. So many ways to look at them, so many ways you could use each piece of the Seder to have a discussion that is very relevant to yourself, to world events, to your evolution and our evolution together as a people.
Orvador, chayav adam lirot et atzmo כאילו יצא ממצרים.
Keel, come on up. Representing our Board of Trustees, Selma Keel, to tell us what's going on.
I don't have to say my name because the rabbi already said it twice. Selma Keel, I'm the membership vice president of TBO, and I'd like to welcome you to our services. We have a few things coming up in the next few days. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Zoom, we have the Torah discussion group. Sunday, our religious school students are going to enjoy a model Seder. I know we all had model Seders when we were kids. Also, our youth choir is going to have rehearsal at 12, so if your children are involved with that, it's 12 noon on Sunday. Because of the holiday, Monday and Tuesday, the ECC is closed, so do not send any of your children to ECC then. However,
Especially if our
the
children are
temple-
40 years old.
That's true. The temple will be open on Monday, but it will be closed on Tuesday. And heavens to Betsy, there's no mahjong on Monday, so don't come to mahjong either. I want you to enjoy your seders on Monday and Tuesday evenings. Have a wonderful Passover, Aziz Pesach.
Thank you. Aleinu, I'd like to call up Lauren and Matthew and Elijah to open our ark. Aleinu, it's on page 586. And you may rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהן, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אלוהים.